rabbits? You're right on time. Ready to get to work?
Yeah, we sure are.
What do we do? Remember last time we talked about the 4 things that all animals need in their habitats?
Yes, I remember. Habitat means the home or place where the wild animal lives. And every habitat has food to eat, water to drink,
and shelter to get away from bad weather and enemies.
And space to move around safely and raise their babies.
Very good. Okay, today you're going to help me feed and water some of the animals, and you're going to learn how different kinds of animals need different kinds of food, water, shelter, and space. Okay?
Okay.
Shall we start with your baby Robin?
How is he doing? Is he going to be all right?
Why don't you come on and find out for yourself?
All right.
Good night! Look at how big he got!
He's doing very well. He's not a nestling anymore. He's called a fledgling at this age when he's learning to fly. He eats about once an hour.
So then he'll need lots more worms and other insects in his new habitat when you let him go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And fresh water to drink.
That's right. Speaking of water, why don't you help me get started watering the animals today?
Okay.
For shelter, it can use the trees to make its nest and hide from enemies.
Yeah, how about space? How much space will he need?
Well, let's think about that for a minute. Would you want to live in a house where the bathroom and the kitchen were 10 miles apart?
No.
No way. Well, Robin doesn't want to live far from the things it needs either. It doesn't need a lot of space, really. Just enough to find its food and water and raise its young safely.
The park where we found it wasn't a very safe habitat if the parents got hit by a car, was it?
That's a good point, Tammy. You're absolutely right. We get a lot of animals brought to us who are injured by cars. It's a real dangerous thing for the wildlife in our city.
I saw a huge dead deer on the highway last year. Got hit by a truck.
Yeah. The roads are not only dangerous for the deer, but the deer are dangerous for the people who travel on the roads, too. You see, deer like to feed early morning and evening alongside the roads, and that's the time when most people are coming and going from work. Over 100 deer were killed on our roads last year, and a lot of people were hurt. You see, cars are called a limiting factor. Now, a limiting factor is something that limits or shortens the life of animals like your robin or deer or other wildlife that live in our city.
Another limiting factor could be that cat we saw. It could have eaten our baby Robin.
That's right. Cats are a limiting factor for the birds in the city. All right, everybody, grab your bottles. Ready?
Oh, rabbits! How cute! Rabbits need lots of carrots in their habitat. Right, Dr. Simpson?
Well, a rabbit would eat carrots if it found some in somebody's gardens, but actually they eat a lot of different kinds of plants, like young tender leaves, buds, berries, green twigs, clovers. Hi, James. James is going to feed the rabbits now.
I've never seen any rabbits in our park before.
Well, that's because your park is the wrong habitat for wild rabbits. There aren't enough plants for the rabbits' food and shelter. You see, wild rabbits need a lot of different kinds of plants in their habitat. They need habitat diversity.
Does that mean a rabbit needs lots of different habitats?
Well, no, not really. It only needs one habitat, but it needs a lot of different kinds of plants in its habitat. You see, the tall trees in the park are great for the birds and the squirrels, but rabbits need tall grasses and bushes that are closer to the ground so they can hide from their enemies, like hawks who like to eat rabbits. In the tall grasses and bushes, they can make runways that twist and crisscross so they can hide from their enemies and get away.
I get it. The park doesn't have habitat diversity, only very short grass and tall trees. That's why we only see a few kind of animals there, like the robins and sparrows and crows. But where there's habitat diversity and a lot of different kind of plants, there are rabbits and other animals too.
You're getting the right idea, Winston. You see, in tall grasses, ferns, mosses, and wildflowers, you'll find a turtle or a mouse or a frog. And in the bushes, there's all kinds of different birds like goldfinches or red-winged blackbirds. And the deer like to feed on the bushes, too.
Like my mother's rose bushes.
That's true. Deer sometimes can be a problem. They like to eat rose bushes and other plants that people have in their gardens, like apple trees and grapes. They think sunflowers are pretty tasty, too.
Well, what other wild animals live in habitat that has diversity and lots of plants too, Dr. Simpson?
Well, if you have rabbits in your habitat, you're going to have tall grasses. And when you have tall grasses, you'll have a lot of insects. So when you have insects, chances are you're going to have a lot of insect-eating birds like Warblers, vireos, flycatchers, or scarlet tanagers. Oops, I was talking so much I didn't realize what time it was. I've got a lot of work to do, so if it's okay with you, I'm gonna have James show you some chores around here, and I'll just see you next Saturday, okay?
Great.
Okay, great.
Bye, Dr.
Okay, James. Goodbye. See you next Saturday. Thanks, James. See you
Bye,
later.
Bobby.
Bye-bye.
Come on, guys, and I'll put you to work.
Okay. We're all done.
Hey, great. Thanks. You guys did a great job.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for letting us help you.
Yeah, that was fun, especially seeing the rabbits.
And the hawks were cool.
Yeah, I noticed you had a library here at the Wildlife Center. Would you mind if we took a look at some of the wildlife books you have?
Not at all. Help yourself.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
See you later. What are we looking at books for?
Worms. We need to learn all about worms. Worms? What for? To help Bobby find the right place in the park to let the robin go. The robin will need lots of worms, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we need to find the right place in the park where there are lots of worms, and it won't get hit by a car or eaten by a cat.
That's cool.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, I found something. It says, earthworms are nocturnal animals. That means that they mostly come out at night. During the day, they stay in their burrows with their heads towards the surface of the ground. The reason why you see robins tugging at worms during the day is because worms have tiny bristles that anchor themselves into their burrows in the ground.
But how do we find them if they only come out at night?
Well, it says we look for mounds of earth or castings that we often see on the ground. These are particles of soil swallowed by the worm and then brought to the surface. It is estimated that on 1 acre of ground there can be 50,000 earthworms. 50,000 worms? Yeah, 50,000. Whoa. Come on, let's go.
Huh?
Go where?
To the park to look for castings.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, this isn't going to work. It's going to take us days to find a place with lots of worms. This park is huge.
We need to have a plan.
Okay, here's our plan. First, we need to find a place as far away from the road and the cars as we can possibly get. Right?
Right.
And furthest from the houses where people's cats live in too.
Right. That would be in the middle of the park.
Perfect. Come on, let's go. Okay, we're the furthest from the cars and the cats. Now everyone spread out and look for castings.
Right.
Over here! I found one! Look!
That's a casting, all right, Tammy. But one's not enough. We need lots of them, remember? Lots of worms.
Here, right under these trees. Thousands of them.
Oh, Winston, this is perfect! This is perfect! Let's call Dr. Simpson and tell her we found the perfect habitat for our baby robin.
Yeah.
Come on! She's gonna be so excited.
Don't forget to tell her how many there are.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Simpson. This is Heather. Guess what? We found the perfect habitat for our baby robin when you let him go. There's lots of worms and...
Well, wait a minute, Heather. How do you know there are a lot of worms?
Well, you know the castings on the ground that the worms leave behind?
Really? Good work. I'm impressed.
And guess what? There's water in the pond to drink, lots of tall trees for shelter, and enough space to fly around safely and so it won't get hit by a car or eaten by a cat.
Sounds like you've thought of everything. Why don't you meet me in the park tomorrow morning around 7 o'clock and we can let the robin go? That's a good time for robins to find food and a place to roost.
Great, we'll be there. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, kids. This does look like a good habitat for your robin. I can hear lots of robins in the trees, and that's a good sign. You hear that? That's a robin.
Check out all the castings we found.
Oh, great. I see what you mean. Okay, let's set the robin free right here then, where we know there are plenty of worms and other robins. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Bye, little Robin. Good luck.
Do you think it'll stick around, Dr. Simpson?
Why don't you just call me Bobby?
Do you think it'll stick around, Bobby?
Yeah, I think it's going to be happy here. But you know that robins leave the park in the winter, right? In the winter, the ground freezes over and it's hard for them to find worms, so they need to fly south where it's warmer and where there's food to be found. But it'll be back in the spring.
Boy, the park will seem empty without our baby Robin.
Yeah, compared to the other habitats you were telling us about, this park seems pretty empty anyway. I wish I lived near a habitat that had a lot of different kind of wild animals and plants all year round.
You know, there are parks like that with habitat diversity.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, there's one in New York City called Central Park.
Central Park?
Yeah, it has over 200 different kinds of birds that feed and nest there. And 13 kinds of mammals like rabbits and woodchucks and raccoons and muskrats.
Why can't we have a park like that?
Yeah.
If our park had more diversity, like different kinds of grasses and plants and bushes, then we could have more wild animals that would like to come and live there.
Well, that's true, Heather. It would take a lot of work to turn this park into a habitat with diversity. Why don't you think about that, and we'll talk about it at the Wildlife Center next week.
Oh, look! The robin got a worm!
Great. Well, now that's a good sign that your robin's going to be just fine in the habitat you picked out for him. Thanks for finding him a home.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, I'll see you next week at the Wildlife Center.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Bobby.